I'll share my. All right. So, as everyone saw from our tweets and announcements, today's topic is about our information infrastructure, and Jose and I have talked about this on a lot of different levels for over a year now, and so I thought he was the perfect person to bring on as our guest speaker. He's really been getting his hands dirty with this, and we're going to do an overview of what it means to have information infrastructure. Then we're also going to get into some more details about the actual info paper that we're currently working on. So I'll let you take this part, Jose.
All right. Hello, everyone. So, quick disclaimer: I'm not a subject matter expert in the field of information infrastructure. However, I'm very familiar with the information pertaining to DigiByte. And I like to tell the story of like when I first learned about DigiByte. I began doing my research, through the DigiByte website, digibyte.org, and on that website, you find all the information about it. It'll take you to the wiki, the community info papers on there, the integration guides on there, information about Digi Assets, Digi ID, GitHub, and so on. So, kind of going back to my disclaimer there, I'm not a subject matter expert in the field of information infrastructure. However, I'm very familiar with the information that's out there about DigiByte, and that's one of the things that I guess drew me in. It Yeah, so it drew me in, and I was fascinated by the technology. Um, Besides that, like I think that we're all consumers of information first. We all somehow found out about Bitcoin or DigiByte or blockchain technology, whatever it was, through some form of information. So yeah, what is information infrastructure, as it pertains to DigiByte, and the way I like to think about it. Information is knowledge or facts learned about a certain topic or event. Infrastructure is the foundation or framework, uh, which includes, but it is not limited to, people, processes, procedures, you know, and the use of the information. So, with saying that, um, Laura, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered it, and that's really what the discussion is today. Um, what might seem like just common sense, logical. I mean, I haven't seen a defined discussion about this in the community, and I think it's long overdue. So hopefully, this will kind of help us frame not just the challenges and the opportunities, but what are our action items going forward after this? I think that will be, you know, really the ultimate goal.
All right. So I think, yeah. So everyone here sees the overview, the importance of a well-maintained documentation, challenges of keeping documentation up to date, solutions, and what the next steps are and actionable items.
Yeah, so these are going to be our high points today that we're going to hit on. Does anybody have any questions about that, or is there something on there that isn't added that you feel like we need to discuss on
You
tomorrow?
guys said information infrastructure. Is that a phenomenon? Is that something that people have established, or is this something we're just doing? Just a question.
No, it's a process and a framework that that organizations use. It's just a term of how to, maintain, store, update, create information.
Okay, so this is the framework that we're trying to apply to DigiByte, um, making the information better structured. Is that what I'm trying to get across, or is that what you guys trying to do?
I
Right.
no, I well,
What?
go ahead.
Well, in general, yes. Like we want to talk about this in a more um, kind of framework oriented, action oriented way, because information's kind of floating all over. It's not up to date. It's we don't. It's not necessarily well vetted. So being able to create a system um, where we can direct people to, really, does that make sense, Michael? To your
Yes,
to your
I
question?
just get the intention. That's all. Thank
So
you.
if I can add one last thing, it's not that we're adopting this new process. It's already there. And I think yesterday when we were on the space, and I kind of went over the history, a little bit of the history of how, back in 2021, certain events took place, certain members left, and it kind of created a gap with who was in charge of what, or who did what, who contributed where. And, this is kind of like we're talking about the infrastructure we already have. And can it be improved? Yes. And I think that's, what Laura's talking about, like, actionable steps that we can take moving forward.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good round out to that. So why is it important? Do you want to take this, Jose, or do you want me to hit on it?
Go ahead. And I'll just kind of jump in there and make comments.
Okay. So as you can see, we've got clarity and understanding. Um, when we're talking about something like DigiByte or really any blockchain, and there's information and because it's decentralized, it's not a company, information's like kind of floating out there like all over the place. And it's not always clear, and it's not always presented in a way that that helps foster understanding. So it's not chunked up in a way that fosters understanding. So that causes a lot of confusion in general, and especially if there's misinformation out there. I was looking to see if my node was up, and John, I'm going to have to get you to help me because my node's not up anymore. I went to go find a node crawler, and I Googled nodes and DigiByte, and the first thing that popped up was a little paragraph that says DigiByte is 200,000 nodes. So again, we're that well-maintained documentation that's up to date is so important, because that's what happens is people will see something on the internet that might not even be true and then take that as like a gospel. So being able to create clarity and keeping that information somewhere that everybody can be pointed to is super important. Um, Troubleshooting, if we have good solid documentation that's beyond our code, like beyond like the actual code of DigiByte, but that information support structure, if it's accurate and something goes wrong, it's being able to go back and troubleshoot areas as well. So having that accurate information again is for the sustainability of the blockchain is really important. For the sustainability of the community is really important. Um, and then onboarding is an obvious, if you're going to do a presentation in a community or to a business or to a government and any entity really, we want to have that information so that it's organized, that it's accurate, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to get to, where it's not you're trying to find all these different Medium articles and that sort of thing. And this goes beyond just the info paper. This discussion is it ties into the wiki, it ties into the main website, ties into the the integration guide, all of those supporting documents, contribute to successful onboarding. And then compliance and audits is the last one. And this is the part I think a lot of people don't really think about so much, is that when, let's say, an exchange is interested in listing DigiByte, they have their own compliance standards, and one of them is like, what's the information about this network? Being able to create an infrastructure that, again, is up to date and easily shareable, it reduces the friction of information, so people aren't having to go look and hunt and peck. But if we can have like a nice standard professional information infrastructure, this is going to aid in all of those platforms that want to integrate DigiByte. They require this level as well. So all of this really, from just a beginner trying to learn about DigiByte all the way to exchanges and platforms, this infrastructure supports all of that.
And
Jose,
those are
you
all
want to add anything?
Yeah, those are all excellent points, and I'm glad that I read your notes, or the notes that you had, and I knew what you were going to talk about. So I wanted to kind of add some things to that, to clarity. Not only do we want it to be, clear so people can understand what the information is, but also the tone. We want to have a neutral tone, because we're talking about software, we're talking about technology, and it doesn't discriminate against somebody who's had the vaccine or not. It doesn't discriminate against a person who is diverse in whatever way. And I think it's important to kind of clarify that when the information is written, it's written to show what the technology is, what it's capable of doing, and that that the other stuff, like I know that there's a philosophy behind like Bitcoin, and we also prescribe to like almost kind of like a doctrine, things that we agree with and things that we align with. But not everybody is in DigiByte for the same reason. So it's important that when the information is written, it's written so that this is technology. Like, it doesn't care if you're from Cambodia. It doesn't care if your political beliefs or whatever. So I thought that was important to note. Another point that I'd like to make is that with neutrality, um, we don't want to have information that's out there that is putting us in a race against other blockchains, that's making us compete against other blockchains. I mean, that's natural, but we don't need to put it in our documentation, in our doctrine, that, oh, we're better than you, because I think a lot of us here are here for the same reason, because of the current financial system. So kind of going back to Bitcoin, but if there ever comes a time when the government is trying to kill crypto, or the onboard, on and off ramps, we already see what's happening with that. That there might be a time that we have to align with these other networks, um, for the better of the people, not just the network, but the people, because of the reasons that you know that we're into DigiByte. So there's that. And when I say reasons, I mean, like, being able to send money across the world permissionlessly, and other principles like that we value. Um, so yeah, I just kind of wanted to hit on, it doesn't help us when we're constantly saying, if and I'm not saying we are, but I know that there's stuff that floats around Twitter, and it's like, you know DigiByte saved Doge, and you owe us something. And I think that's a wrong way of looking at it. We're in an open source environment where, fortunately, we were able to help out a different blockchain. And there's been, cases where we've used code from other blockchains. For example, I think one of the things that we edited in the community info paper was that we were the first major blockchain, when in fact we were like the third blockchain to implement it. So we were an early adopter of SegWit. I think we've had community members from other blockchains come over to us and comment on tweets and say, well, you guys, took that idea from us. Not too long ago, there was a guy from the Myriad Coin community, and he's like, you guys ain't original. You guys took the multi-algo from Myriad Coin. And he's right. Like there's videos of Jared praising Myriad Coin. There's it's written in the wiki where we used if you know if the code was inspired or we use actual code from them, that's not a bad thing. And I think that going forward, I think there's going to be people that are going to continue to use code that DigiByte that was developed for DigiByte. DigiShield. I know that I've had conversations or made comments with other people like, "Hey, check it out." They're worried because they can see that GPU miners, can be optimized, and so how do we prevent, against those fluctuations? And so I wanted to add that you know with the clarity, just adding neutrality to it, so that when we're teaching other people, other communities, onboarding new people, that they understand it's technology, and there's benefits to it. And yeah.
All right. I think that was good. Well said. And yeah, I think keeping that neutral tone is going to be really imperative moving forward. And hopefully it starts kind of a standard of neutral tones. And this is part of the evolution, right? Speaking of evolution, let's talk about some of the challenges to keeping documentation up to date. I think most people on this call have experienced the challenges firsthand. But do you want to take this one, Jose, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, no. So we know technology evolves, and it changes. Take for example, recently, and I say recently, but in the last couple of years, we've been working on upgrading DigiByte to version 8.22, and that's because Bitcoin was at version 22, and we were able to merge that technology into DigiByte. But with changing environment, and I guess to go back to like keeping things up to date, when something like that changes, it has to be updated in our documents, because then you have and I think you mentioned it about exchanges. When you have services or businesses that want to integrate DigiByte, but then like something goes wrong because they're using I don't know, maybe the wrong integration guide. I know the difference between the previous integration guide and this in the recent one, the version 2, is when I read through it, the RPC calls changed. And so I know that with small changes or just changes period, that can cause something to go erratic if the systems aren't communicating correctly. But yeah, so it's a changing environment. To go along with code, we also have community members, new community members coming in, and then like as we've seen, community members leaving. So the environment changes. I think that also contributes to the resource constraints. We're a volunteer driven community, so everybody contributes where they can. And but when you have somebody who's a large contributor, and it should never be that way. It should be like everybody in the community, kind of knows this, kind of knows that, and can fill in whenever they need to. But when people change, or when people leave the community, it sometimes creates a gap, and it does become a resource constraint. And for version control, um, we don't want to be the cause of putting out some information that's wrong, um, because then that gets spread to other people, just with like something that's outdated or something that's inaccurate. It gets spread to other people, and then not just that, but like say with the integration guide, it goes to a business or service, and when they go to integrate it, and if something doesn't work, they're going to look at, it's going to make the wrong impression. They're going to look at us like, who are these guys? They're, who are these rookies? And I know there was a comment made during the Genesis block celebration about we have to act like we're a $20 billion blockchain. And if we have that kind of mentality, we always want to present the best DigiByte that there is. So yeah, no, I think that version control, we kind of already hit that a lot, but if we don't care enough to update our documents, and we don't care to maintain our websites, it's like, why should anybody else care about what we have to offer? So that's how I see things. Laura, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would like to just hit on, that changing environment. Like you said, it's changing not just with the technology changes, but, our information infrastructure changes, who's participating in that. And I think we've seen in the past where um, we allowed as a community for that to be shouldered by just a few. And then if those few leave, then it's kind of a race to figure out, well, how do we fill the holes that are left when a person leaves for whatever reason, right? So, one of the things that really I've been thinking about a lot in preparing this is, you know, keeping our personnel, our human uh, values in this environment as redundant as possible, you know? So I think that's something that, again, like when we talk towards the end, more specifically on the info paper and, you know, where to house these things, how to change these things is something to keep in mind. Because I would say that's, for me personally, one of the biggest challenges in a volunteer open source decentralized system is keeping that consistency and that professionalism. I would just say that.
I agree.
So let's get on to the good stuff. And this is where we really we presented the problems that we've seen, um, trying to do it in an organized way. But when we get into the solutions discussion, we really want to hear from anybody in this channel, to help participate with this part of the discussion, because this is going to take a lot of perspectives. But here are just some of our highlighted points that we discussed in preparation. I'll let you go with this, Jose.
Well, let's start with regular reviews. And, like you said, it's not about what I want or what you want or what we want. It's about a community and the community be involved. And I know that, we're a volunteer driven community, so people contribute when they can. But I have my opinions. I think that spreading out, updating, or spreading out the workflow, but updating, you know the documents that are more important, I guess, the documents that take precedence that need to be, updated. When that change happens, it needs to be done. That happens. And then some other, there's other things that can be put off. Like, okay, we can wait. Maybe do a monthly review for that, and other things maybe a quarterly review. Um, so what ideas does anybody else have? Like, when should we be conducting these reviews and revisions and updates? And one last thing I'll say before anybody if anybody wants to comment on that. Um, I think when we do a review, even if the information still stays the same, that we timestamp it, and it's like, okay, it's recent because it says that it was just reviewed. So anybody have ideas on that?
I think this information infrastructure is an excellent topic. And I think, just like you said, Jose, um, how we are viewed based on what we present is how we should be viewed and how people should see us. Um, I think, the idea of doing like quarterly or like bi monthly reviews, or like if something has come out, to have it be like the literature be reviewed for that thing. Like, okay, this is coming out, 8.2 is coming out, 2.2, and this is changing. Like, maybe if we can start with like one idea that's changing, to be able to go in and look through all the literature to see what needs to be changed for that thing. Like, to create a process of us looking at the literature and being more competent and aware of what's out there for us to review. Um, I think we definitely need to practice with something, and maybe also create some type of medium or platform for us. Maybe Discourse is it for us to do that time stamping process, the work part. But I agree, time stamping it to say that it was reviewed by the community on this date is a really, really good idea.
I think you hit really to the next point of collaboration, Michael. Like all of this is going to require, wide range of collaboration. Where does that happen? And so, there's different ways we can approach that. I think a good starting point for the collaboration is Discord, and that's the reason why we have this new Discord. Well, it's not new, but it's not the first Discord the community ever had, but its design is to promote collaboration regardless of what you're working on, whether it's the information documentation, whether it's code, whether it's just community building. But I think leveraging Discord is a good first start, and possibly even coming up with a community committee that's this is something that people are really interested in, that they want to participate in. But I think how we go forward and how we design our collaboration is going to be a really important uh, key to the success of whatever we build going forward with our information infrastructure.
And no, I just want to say that that point about this is how we present ourselves. Like, this really is like our community, and we are like the owners. This is our house. And it's like, if we we let our house look like trash, that's what people are gonna see. And I'm kind of glad you picked up on that, because you know I think there's buy-in there. Every one of us are here because we believe in the technology. We love being a part of the community, and we have those similar values and thoughts and beliefs when it comes to DigiByte. Um, like this is all the good things that it can do, whether it's for bettering humanity, as a money, as a tech, as a cybersecurity solution or whatever. But we're all here because we belong to the same community, and I'm grateful that you guys are here. That hopefully like more people kind of look at it like, what, before it was all these guys that used to do, they were the ones that updated the website or the wiki, or they're the ones that did the articles or videos on YouTube. And now it's like, no, this is like our house. This is our community. Um, and at least the things that we can contribute to, like I'm not a coder. I don't know how to, I can copy and paste some things, and I can kind of see where some things look similar, and if I but I'm not a coder, and this is like the one way that I can contribute, and that at least allows other people to do what they're good at, whether it's setting up an organization that's going to support the developers, or it's going to allow the developers to focus on what they have to do. There's just so many things that we can take up, that's in our control, that we can like that we can do that. And it just takes a few people that say, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, well said. This is definitely uh, this is the anybody can participate level, which is good. It's good to it's good for our own edification too. I mean, if we're supporters of DigiByte, to be able to participate in the documentation, it's a learning process. You learn something new by going through this. Now, as far as possible solutions, I put automation in there with AI coming online in kind of in every arena. I don't know what anybody else has thoughts on that, about how to keep our information more up to date, and possibly do that in an automated way. And I threw it up there because I wanted to see if this was something that sparked any interest in anybody. If anybody has ideas uh, about possibly using that as part of our solution.
I got a suggestion, but I'll see if anybody else got anything. Yeah,
All
no, I
right.
think
Go
we
ahead.
talked about it yesterday.
Repeat that. I'm sorry. I was trying to help somebody get in the group. I'm sorry. Repeat that question.
So
Oh,
go
oh
ahead,
yeah.
Laura.
Any, uh, my my question was, does anybody have any ideas about automation as a tool, like leveraging AI to help keep our documents, more up to date through an automated process? Like, if there's, I just wanted to throw that out there to see if there was any ideas or feedback on that.
Well, I'll jump in there, and I'll pick up. I think yesterday we were talking about making videos. I think that's a great tool. It doesn't require somebody to sit in front of a camera and speak. That we can type up a script, and the AI is gonna present it in a clear, understandable, manner. And the idea that I had was, we, kind of like we get people that write scripts. We have, like Shane, very talented guy with the videos, and we, just write the script, feed it to the AI, and then add the videos. And that's a great way to put videos out there, on new platforms. I know that not too long ago, and this might have been, I think I heard it on the Genesis Block Day celebration. where somebody had mentioned, we need to get on TikTok because TikTok is, this younger generation. And I think that, if we are not that younger generation, and we're trying to, kind of captivate them, that's a way of doing it. Like, we create these short videos and put them out there. And then now there's all these different social media platforms. I think we were just used to like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but now there's like Blue Sky, um, Threads, and all these other platforms. And I think that, leveraging AI to make products would be a great way to get DigiByte out there.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And yeah, with our information, if we can keep it kind of layered, uh, I think that would be valuable as well. Um, and these last two points, documentation as code, and again, we're talking about version control in our solutions. One of the things that was brought up, and I really like this idea, is to treat our documentation as we treat the code. And what I mean by that is having that run through GitHub, through a GitHub process. So, we're not sharing, links to a Google Doc. We're not sharing, just some random, PDF, but having something that's, housed on GitHub, that's maintained on GitHub, that can be reviewed for changes and that sort of thing. And again, that ties into our version control. So we have a history, we have a documentation, but we're treating our information with the same respect and importance as we treat the code. I think that's going to be really important moving forward. And again, like you said, we need to treat this like it's a $20 billion blockchain. We want people to come into this environment, be able to find that documentation easily, and not only that, know that it's being overseen by trusted members of the community through the GitHub process. And that was, we spent a lot of time talking about that as a possible solution. And this is one where I'd really like to hear the feedback from you all as, what do you think of that idea? And if you don't think it's a good idea, what's a solution you see for where to house these documents, and how to keep them best maintained? So open anyone here on that.
What's the set up like a separate channel on GitHub to do that? Like, how would we do that? Because I'm not familiar with the process.
You can, like keep documents on GitHub, and then if you want to change something or add something, you can put in a pull request for that, and that gets reviewed. So I mean, this would be a whole process implementation that we have to like really dedicate to this. But I've talked with people and they said, well, you could keep it on the Alliance website. Well, we don't want the Alliance to be seen as the keeper of all the information. This is a community-wide effort, right? So where to keep that information so that it's treated with, like I said, with a kind of an amount of reverence for, okay, these documents that are housed here have been, reviewed, have been signed off on. They're accurate, they're neutral, they're something that if you want to go present to somebody, you can pull them from GitHub and have the latest. You know what I mean? So, but you can keep documents on GitHub like you do code. But again, like this is just one of the things that we thought could be a possible solution here. And I'd love to hear anybody's thought on that as a way to move forward. We could always keep them on Discord as well. But again, I just feel like Discord's a great place to do like community discussion, but as far as like keeping that information someplace, kind of safe. I don't know for a better word to say that, but and easily accessible to anybody. So I see Oliver just joined, and Oliver, you would be, or John, please, tell us your points as well. But I know Oliver's been talking about running the website through GitHub as well. So if you guys, you could chime in on that as an idea. If you think it's a terrible idea, just say it. But I'd love to hear your feedback on that.
No, I love the idea, but go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I like the idea as well. I know it potentially puts a little bit of an obstacle in terms of people being able to contribute because there's just a little bit of a learning curve. But once past that, I do like the idea of having a versioning of all of the documentation that you can see the history and the changes and all that sort of stuff. I think it keeps to the ethos of what we're all about, and ultimately knowing that there's going to be, as we've already seen, there's going to be some disinformation out there too. Having a trusted resource that everybody could point back towards makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I would add to like version control really be quality control, right? So when you're looking at a document that several other people looked over as well, and did their own research and compared the accuracy. I mean, I just feel like this is something that we really need going forward. Again, if we want to present our best foot forward and also, not give people the wrong information. We can't stop misinformation. Like it's a game of whack-a-mole that will never end when you're using the internet. But I think if we can have up-to-date places where we can say, well, I saw this. Where'd you get that information? Well, I saw it on the internet. I saw it on an old video. We can say, for the most accurate information, go to this area on GitHub, and here's the documentation that you want for the most accurate and up-to-date information. I think being able to just go send people to a place to pull the resources they need, I think it's something that we really don't have right now that we really, really need. And I say that personally, like when I'm looking for things, like just to have it all housed easily in one place and knowing it's the most up to date. Does anybody have anything else they want to add on that? Okay. So we just our wiki page is listed in there for our resources. And the Wikipedia article on information infrastructure. It's a fascinating topic when you kind of delve into it, especially in respect to our community and our entity that we're supporting. To think about it in a more organized and critical way. I think it's definitely relevant. But so now we're getting in, in the last little bit. Jose and I have been working on the info paper, updating it, rewording the tone, and trying to leverage AI to help us with that. We've also worked some on the wiki as well, but we really want to have as many participants as possible to help us with this. And I know, Oliver, you're doing some work with some of this information infrastructure as well. So if you want to add anything in there of, what you're working on, what you see that needs to be done, or next steps.
Sorry, I could not really hear exactly what you said. Could you repeat?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. It's just I had the other stuff that were kind of
in the background. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry about
I
that.
was going to ask Oliver, based on the work you're doing as well. You're also working with information infrastructure and through GitHub. What what thoughts do you have on, you know, how we move forward based on what you're seeing and the challenges you're
Um,
seeing?
well, in terms of information, I think that we have. I mean, we're starting to get a new, I should say, good foundation for that, which is the new wiki, right?
Mhm.
Which is something that we've been working on for a long time. I know a lot of people have been working on putting information for the wiki, and I've personally been working on the actual platform, uh, which actually went live yesterday.
Oh, it did.
It did, but there's still not a lot of information on it. It's basically a placeholder for now. But at this moment, people can go to wiki.digibyte.org and they can see the wiki that is there now. Um, there's a few articles that are complete. Most of them are not. Um, I didn't actually plan on making it public yet. That it has been launched. Um, but I do intend actually go in public this week because I really want the community to get their hands dirty on it and start contributing information because one of the biggest reasons that it hasn't gone live for so long is because I thought that I would be able to produce more material to put on it before we went live. And now I am starting to realize that I don't have the time to do that. So might as well just get it live and ready for the community. So there's a few more things that needs to be prepared for the community to be able to contribute to it, but most of it is set up. And the way that it will work is that contributions will go through GitHub and they will go to a development branch. And once on the development branch, we can create what is known as pull requests to merge it with the master branch. And when it's merged with the master branch, it will be automatically deployed to the wiki. And so that will require some reviewable steps with that. So we need um, some community members to review the content, basically.
Well, and
So,
I got a question that
mhm.
is really pertinent to this. How do we choose which community members are going to be those reviewers? Right. So
Uh,
this aspect is different than the code, right? But it's still going
mm,
to follow that same process of having like the maintainers.
yeah,
What's the number of maintainers we have? How do we decide who those maintainers should be?
it's a great question, and I've been kind of racking my brain trying to figure that out. And I think, I mean, I don't have a perfect response to that, but I don't think that we want to be as, let's say, constrictive as we would have been if this was, let's say, Digibyte core code. I think
Right.
that we should heavily rely on the community for this, and I think that, I mean, one thing about GitHubs that is like equally great and equally bad is that for people who are not used to GitHub, it could be kind of a scary place. And so I think that that also means in general that it doesn't actually really attract people that let's say don't really know what they're doing. So I think at least in the beginning, that's something that we can kind of lean on, knowing that the people that actually make it all the way to GitHub to actually be part of this are people that are going to be serious. And I mean,
Right.
we can set up some rules. I've already set up that it needs to be independently reviewed by and approved by 3 reviewers that did not themselves create the actual pull request to merge the content. So that means that it needs to be already there. There needs to be 4 different people involved, and then there will also be some sort of let's say organizational relation, right? So there's going to be just a few people that can actually make the merge. So the merge won't be automatic just because there's 3 reviews of it. So it still needs to pass, some checks manually. But that should only be like basically, making sure that the content is safe and that it's not misinformation. There's not like a group of people that are trying to abuse the review system to get the information up there. So the people actually making the merches should basically just kind of look into it and see like, okay, was the contribution guidelines followed for this?
Right.
Um, which is something that we also need to create, right? The contribution guideline. So there needs to be, some checks, right, to make sure that
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
content is, the content is accurate, the content is not malicious, and that it also works with the platform that we're using, right? That it's rendered in a good way. Also, we need to consider article structure, um, so that it's not just, for example, a wall of text. Um, but I don't think that we need to really overcomplicate things. I think that we can rely on the community on this one, in a
Yeah, I
nutshell.
agree. I think if we could give really, you know, very specific articulated needs.
Mm,
Um, but I will also say, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Like, uh, whether we like it or not, participation is uh, is correlated to price in general. You get a
yeah.
lot more people wanting to help when the price of the coin is higher. So I kind of feel like we're in a good position where we are right now. Um, because the people who are wanting to help now, they're wanting to help, kind of regardless. The people who have been here now, who have been here for years, are a good core group of people to try and pull from. Um, and and to set the structure in place now, so in the future, whatever happens, we it was created right with people who are here, kind of through thick and thin. Not the fair weather friends of DigiByte, but these are the hardcore supporters. Um, that being said, I know that like for Jose and I, trying to get people to help with the wiki and the info paper has not been easy either. So we can think about ways we can do that better, but we really wanted to take today to really set aside this topic in a more serious and formatted way, um, to always try to bring people Discord, um, give them reasons to come and participate here, and be a part of the documentation channel and start being a part of that conversation. And it's like a muscle memory. The more you do it, the more you kind of interact with it, the more help we're going to get, the more support we're going to get. But I mean, we have not all answers today, but we wanted to frame up the problem that we're all seeing. And I love that you launched. I just saw that too. I just brought it up, Oliver. It was good timing for that to be, and we won't like go screaming it out on public. I mean, I understand you're kind of like, this is, I wasn't expecting to tell people.
Well,
um, yeah.
I wanted to add one thing, and I think it's a discussion that you, Oliver, and I have had, and the type of content that's going to go onto the wiki.
Mm,
And like currently, there's all kinds of stuff from businesses and all these different things. But going forward, I think the again, like kind of the tone of the way we want to push this thing forward is that we want it to be an educational platform, a wiki, where
yeah.
it's like the encyclopedia of DigiByte. And the current wiki is the way it is right now. We haven't, like we could have went in there and just gutted it and taken all that stuff out. But some of that stuff is information. It's useful. It's useful information, and I think that will eventually need to be migrated somewhere else where people can still like, okay, exchanges or wallets or whatever information's on there that, it kind of talks more about business, but the wiki, it's intended to be, and the encyclopedia of DigiByte.
Mm. Yeah, so the way I look at it is from like if I consider DigiByte in itself to be a business, um, I ask myself like how would a business document their products and their company, right? So they wouldn't really be talking about external solutions and external products and things like that. And I think that that is probably the best route for us to take to actually really only focus on digibytes. And I think that stuff like, I mean, as you're saying, I mean, where you can get digibyte and what exchanges you can get digibyte, which wallet supports digibyte, maybe which wallet supports DigiID, digi assets, etc., right? I mean, that's good information, but I don't necessarily personally think that it should go on the wiki, and especially not uh, when now that wiki is part of the DigiByte community org domain, right? I think that we want to keep it kind of anal and very, I don't want to say narrow, but also I want to say narrow. Like it should really be just DigiByte, like the core infrastructure, the maybe the community, but basically information. I kind of want to look at it like I said, like a documentation for a specific product, because in the end, that's what DigiByte is, right? DigiByte is a solution. Um, so that's how I look at it, really.
I would agree with that as well. And to add to that, Oliver, in this day and age, we've all seen it, we want to be really careful, especially when we're connecting anybody with a third party. Like, what do we know about these third parties? What is you know, what is the liability there for doing that? And then also there's people who are building on DigiByte, who are building their own businesses on DigiByte that still want to participate with this level of support. We want to be able to make sure that there's no conflict of interest, right? So if you keep it narrow, like you said, and I think that that's a really good way to describe it. I mean, I don't think narrow is necessarily bad. It keeps it within the rails. It keeps the intention of the documentation clean, and this would be same for the info paper. Um, and I think that's a smart, prudent way to go. Not only that, one thing that Jose and I really ran across that was difficult while we were going through the wiki is, you know, the more granular you get on all of these details, you've got to think about sustainability of the information and being able to keep up with, you know, the sustainability, the changing of the information. And Digibyte's it doesn't change quickly. It does, changes aren't done quickly. There's not a lot of uh, but if we were listing like every wallet or every exchange or anything like that would change quickly, right? That could change quickly. The information about DigiByte itself is, I don't want to say the word easy, but it's definitely easier if we stick to just the protocol itself, um, and not external sites like you were saying. I think for the maintenance level of it, the sustainability of the maintenance level of it, it makes a lot more sense. We don't know, in the future, because we're not a company, right? We don't know how many people we're going to have helping us, right? So we have to keep in mind that it might only be 10 of us doing this work, you know, maybe even less. So we got to make sure that the liability issue and also the sustainability issue for ourselves is maintainable.
Yeah. And I mean, I absolutely agree with that. I think that, just simply put, in terms of kind of security, integrity, and workload, it doesn't really make sense to take on all that is documenting something external. However nice that would be of us to do that, and not only by us but also for our community. And I mean, like I said, I understand that that is good information for a lot of people to have, but maybe just not on this platform. um
Right,
because
and it's not to say somebody else couldn't do that. You know, if
no,
somebody was like, "I
exactly.
feel like that's really important," it's like, "Okay, you go create that somewhere and you maintain it."
Yeah,
But we can only do what we can do.
yeah.
I know we're getting just over our hour now, but before we wrap up, I know as far as our action items, you know, Jose and I talk at least twice a month, sometimes more, and in Discord, usually on the weekends. But we really do invite you to come, you know, participate in that channel, um, and kind of help us come up with a framework and share your ideas. Share if you know feel like this is good idea, bad idea. We want to hear other people's perspective, which was again a reason why we wanted this to be a topic this month. Um, so you know, just if you please, you know, participate with us, communicate with us, come join the channel and help. We'd love to see you. And you know, and Oliver, thank you so much for everything you do with the short amount of time that you have in supporting. You know, it's nice to be working on things in parallel because you know, we've got a lot of synergy between different projects. So, but before we wrap it up, is there anything anybody else, you know, if we didn't cover, or concerns, ideas, suggestions that you would like to voice yourself on?
I have a couple of things that I just want to kind of quickly mention.
Yeah.
And it's relevant to the discussions you've been having, and also relevant to to the wiki itself. And I think it was Johnny Law that was talking about, you know, having proper versioning for documentation. And I think that the wiki is just perfect for that. I mean, it has all that already built in into the platform itself, and also it will be using, you know, GitHub as a base for it. So we will always have, you know, the versioning history of things, and also kind of the accountability, if you will, um, of kind of the authors of the information. And I think that now that we have this wiki as a subdomain to the digibyte.org domain, I think it makes a lot of sense to actually just move all the integration guides, the info paper, and things like that into that. Um, yeah, I think that was it. I just think that going forward, it would be a great place for it, and also
Oh, I see what you're saying. So not keeping it as a separate document on GitHub, but actually running it through and then just having it really like under one umbrella.
I mean it's the same, because to get the information to the wiki, it has to go through GitHub.
Right.
So
Yes.
it will be on a repository on GitHub, and then the wiki will kind of mirror that, if you will. So you have two instances of versioning history that kind of work in unison together.
Oh, that makes sense. Um, I'd love to participate with this, but I'm gonna need like a tutorial video on
Yeah, I w-
how to work at that level.
I will write a guide to do this. Actually, I have already written a guide for it for something else.
Okay.
But it can be converted into our purpose, so to say. Um, in essence, I would say that it is very simple to actually write documentation. It's using something that's called Markdown. I'm writing the word in the chat. I will also write a link here, markdownguide.org, which is kind of a guide website on the formatting language of what what the wiki platform uses for documentation, and it's also a very widely used language formatting used for a lot of different things. Also, compatible with GitHub itself. So when you see GitHub Wiki, that's actually using Markdown as well. So that also means that to some extent, you will actually be able to also have the wiki on the GitHub, because you can browse the pages immediately. The only difference is that the wiki platform itself has some extra styling features and stuff like that that will make the formatting a little prettier and special.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'll do some homework this week, Oliver. All right. Is there anybody else that wants to chime in before we head off to our Sunday dinners?
I want to say one last thing before we end this education hour. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I come regularly, and I think I've sat in some of these education hours, but I think it was just me, Laura, and maybe one other person. And so, kind of speak to your guys' passion. And I want to welcome, because I think this is the first time I see, let me see if I get your name right. So Cosmic Stingy, welcome to the channel. I think it's my first time seeing you here. And finally, the last thing I'm gonna say is, while we were talking here, I got a notification. I think we got our first comment for the community info paper. So if you guys are interested in seeing who made a comment and what that comment was, you can go down into the resources channel, and when you open it up, it's going to have a bunch of different tabs, documents. If you find the recent version 2 community info paper, you can access it there. And again, I think this was kind of the focus too, is we got the crowd here. Head down there, just take a look at it, see what you think. If you like it, make a comment. If you don't agree with the changes, make a comment. And it's about all of us. It's about the community, not just what I thought was what I like or what I thought was cool. So all right, everybody, that's it from me.
Thanks again, everyone, for showing up. It was nice to see so many new. Well, and Cosmic again, yeah, having a new face in here always feels good, and lots of work to do. So it was nice to see lots of faces in here, and we'll keep the conversation going online. And hope everybody has a wonderful Sunday. And really, I want to say a special thanks to Jose, who's really a brother from another mother at this point for me. Always willing to help, try, organize, very action item oriented. So thank you, Jose, for being a part of this and helping me stay inspired in the process as well. So have a great Sunday, everybody. We'll see you online.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Nice seeing you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.